Hey, it's David. So I know I said I wouldn't be piping in Spark Infinity content very frequently, but I do the occasional interview that I think it would just be such a shame not to share it over here. So today I've got an interview did a little while back with Mark Dixon of RadarBase, and he lives in London, UK. He was very gracious to agree to do his first ever interview with us. It would have been, I think, 3 a.m. for him. Mark is one of those people that got his hands on my book, The Renegade Musician, read it, started applying it immediately, and saw results. So if you take action, there's always good things. Good things happen on the other end of taking action, implementing the things that you know you need to do. I think this interview makes for a very convincing case that you need to get your hands on one of these books if you haven't already. RadarBase, among other things, they have 2,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I know for some of you that's like, whatever, but there are definitely others of you going, wow, 2,000, like I would love to just get 500 or maybe 1,000. And here's a duo that's already got 2,000 and they're honestly just getting started. And friends, look, the Renegade Musician, it's just been sitting there and it's doing pretty well, but it hasn't really caught momentum. And it's a really flipping good book, okay? And I don't often ask for things, but if you could go and get yourself a copy and review it for me on Amazon, it would make such a big difference. As far as I'm concerned, you've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. Yes, it's a long book and there's a lot of content in there, but you know what? It's helping people. It's making a difference. And we can get this book to a bestseller. I need your help. That's the only way this can happen. The only way the book grows is if you buy it and you review it. And we need to get 30 reviews for that book, and that's quite a few. So I'm asking for your help. I invite you to pick up a copy of The Renegade Musician at Amazon. Let's push this one to the top, not because it's good for me, but because the book deserves to be seen. And without further ado, here's my interview with Mark Dixon. From RadarBase and all the way from London, UK, we have with us today a musician, as I understand it, in the process of just getting started, but already starting to see some amazing results. Might have something to do with that book over there, The Renegade Musician. Here's Mark Dixon from RadarBase. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you
Well,
both?
amazing. It's really good to see you. And
You
thank
too.
you for
Nice to be
joining
here.
us. I know it's really late in UK and you agreed to do this anyway, and we really, really appreciate that.
Very welcome. Great to be here.
Why don't you tell us about RadarBase? What has your journey been like so far? What made you say, I got to do some music? What brought you to this point?
So, yeah, RadarBase was born about a year ago, and I met a local singer-songwriter who's doing his own songs, and he was trying to put a band together to perform them, and I hooked up with him. I was at this point I sort of saw myself as retired from doing original music, if you like, at that point.
Mm,
But I really liked his songs, and we performed those in his original guise. And then that was just like a one-off thing. And then after that, we kept in touch, and I was like, I think we can take this in a different direction, give it more of a defined sonic identity, bring out a certain sort of electronic crossover style with it, and tie that in with the visuals and the identity, and out of that was RadarBase, and that
mm,
started in earnest this time last year. We did a bit of a pivot at the middle of the year and took it from a live band with synths to a fully electronic thing, which came to life last November in and that came off really well. And yeah, we're ready for the next part of the journey.
I've listened to your songs, and it is definitely apparent that like you didn't start playing music yesterday. So, what has that trajectory been like? I mean, you kind of touched on a few things there, but what else went into that journey?
So I sort of break down my musical journey into three phases. So there was
Mm,
probably the original period where I got into electronic music in its first in the rave period, I think in the UK in the early 90s, and then from there Britpop happened, and bands like Oasis were very popular, and that became the pop music of the period. So then I moved into that into guitar music, and then this last period where I think I've done what I really wanted to do, which was the electronic music, but then bring in some of those influences that I picked up of alternative music along the way, guitar-based music, and bring that together in something that's probably hasn't an area that hasn't been explored quite as much as other areas, and that's what we've done in RadarBase, or tried to do.
Your music is obviously available on Spotify, and where else have you distributed it to so far?
So we've got it on Bandcamp
Hmm.
and SoundCloud.
Awesome. Okay, so there's multiple places people can go to listen, which is always great. It sounds like you're basically just getting started in Radar Base. You've got your sound, and sounds like you got your members kind of established. What sort of goals do you have for the future of the group?
I think if we could build a small audience that liked what we did, connect with that, so that it'd be sustainable enough that we can put on a show in it and have some level of confidence that it'd be pretty full, and we can put the release out and feeling that that would connect with people and be meaningful. I mean, that would be enough for me. I think if we can build that organically and authentically, then anything that grows out of that beyond that would be a bonus at this
Mm.
stage.
I think it takes an artist with a certain amount of self-awareness to say, like, I have to tap into some resources to be able to make my career a reality. Like many artists are hoping the stars will align, right? They just show up at the venue, they play, everyone's excited, and a magical moment happens like in the movies, which is already kind of rare. And you had obviously decided that, like, oh, I need resources to make my dreams a reality. So what
Yeah.
had you say that?
I think it was a case of I've done a lot of gigs, like you say, just sort of turning up and hoping,
Mhm.
and this was we were like we're a bit too long in the tooth to want to just play a lot of places on the off chance and so on, and go through all that and do all the whole waiting around thing,
Mhm.
um with the hope that something happens. So we're like, no, we need to put some more structure into this, and have more of a strategy for trying to tap into our audience and build that up, so that we can be efficient with where we play and who we play to.
Yeah, I mean, part of what you're speaking to there is the momentum piece. When you
Mm,
have momentum, things can be exciting and continue to be exciting because you feel like you're building on something continually and it's getting better and better as you go, or audience
mm,
sizes are increasing, or email list is growing. But when you
yeah.
don't see that happening, or when it's stagnant, of course we all go through stagnant periods, but
Mm,
it can certainly be frustrating and demoralizing to continually be going through those periods of stagnation.
yeah, no, absolutely. And we had a couple of shows. I mean, we had an incredible show in November that we put a lot behind, and everything went right that night. That was like the launch of Radar Base sort of Mark II, if you like. But then we had a couple of follow-up ones that were more of a hope for the best type shows, and yeah, it really sort of took the momentum, and that feeds into everything, doesn't it? It feeds into the writing and what you're going to do next, and the enthusiasm you have like day to day. So yeah, it's important to get those right and to create that positive feeling to push into the next one, for sure.
Mm. And then at some point you stumbled upon my book, the Renegade Musician. It's over
I
there.
did, yeah, yeah.
How did you find it?
So I think so in this, just going back to my original phases of when I did original bands. I mean, back then it was a case of the sort of record companies were the dominant thing in order to get your music distributed, and at the time, I mean, this is going back 10, 15 longer years. They're looking to fill slots, aren't they, in their A&R roster, and that was the strategy for you as a band. It was kind of get two or three songs that might feel like they were singles, pack it out with with the rest of your set, try and get as many people to a gig in London, try and get some people down to see you, and then if you're lucky, you might get a slot on the roster and get some music released. And that was the strategy. But and it's hard, like when you've been ingrained in that mindset for so long, as I have,
Mm.
to think, okay, things have changed completely now. So I need another blueprint for what we're going to do, both because the industry's changed that model. Really, you've got to demonstrate, you've got to start your own fire in some capacity before anyone is interested in pouring any petrol on it, if you like.
Yeah.
And also because of our age, and we're a bit older, so it's not like we're just going to turn up as the next sort of young thing playing the pop music of the day type of thing. So I was really looking for something to help me navigate our strategy and change that mindset, and just give us some inspiration of what we're going to do, taking ownership of our own music and building it organically. So, and that's when I searched and found the book, and the title connected with me as well, with the name of with name of our band, and that whole sort of vibe to it.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a great find.
You're definitely speaking to one of the realities that, like, I was actually reflecting on this today a little bit because I was asked whether I wanted to help an artist with a radio campaign, which is something I've done before. I realized that is an area, especially where, I mean, maybe music discovery or music promotion in general isn't happening quite as much as it used to in radio. But when I was doing a lot of my research and writing my first book and so forth in like 2014, 2015, radio was still a pretty big deal. And I anticipate, even if listenership's down a bit, it still exists. So I'm assuming it's still a pretty big deal. That's an area where major labels still wield way more resources than someone like I can. There's a lot of other tools I can use, and I'm good at what I do, and I'm aware of the various things available that I could connect artists to opportunities. But there it still is the case that in many labels wield power or have resources that some independents just don't have, even if they want
Yeah.
them. And then the Renegade Musician. So you found it through Google or Amazon?
I think Amazon. I enjoy reading music books just
Mm,
generally. Could be mixture of production or kind of workflow things, which have benefited me a lot. And
nice.
so I was thinking, can I find something on the marketing side? I mean, it's you got to recognize your own weaknesses, I think, and marketing is certainly one of mine. So I'm like, can I
Mm.
find something that will, yeah, just open my mind to what we should do next?
Well,
Rather than chase industry, which is kind of like what used to happen, and that gets extremely boring as well. So
yeah.
yeah, what can we do to ourselves on a practical level to make things happen?
Well, I have to acknowledge you there as well, because I think many artists would have found themselves in a similar situation and still wouldn't have had that thought process that led to that type of conclusion that you just expressed. But I love that. So I'm glad you came across the Renegade Musician, and then you actually did read it from cover to cover, as I understand it. When you
Yeah.
first when you first started delving into it, I mean, there is a good, really big chunk, just to build on what you said.
Mm,
Part three of the book is dedicated entirely to marketing, and in fact,
mm.
some people said your book doesn't cover technical details, and I said, did you read it? Because the third part is the biggest part, and it talks
Yeah.
about marketing. But what was your first impression as you delved into the book?
My first impression was, okay, here's someone that's speaking in a tone that I can relate to, I can connect with, that is very honest about the
Mhm.
state of the way things are. So straight away, I love that writing style, and I love the honesty and the authenticity of it. And it was straight away, I felt like it was someone that understood the position that we're in as, an artist starting out, no resources, no traction. And it was like, yeah, like tough love, like,
Mhm.
this is your band, this is your music. You've got to make something happen for yourself, and you've got to get some things done. And and I like that. I'm like, right, okay, yeah. And I just, it was an empowering feeling reading it.
Mm.
Um, it was yeah, very very inspirational about, we're going to take things forward for better or for worse, but at least we're in control. So it was great.
Yes, the book is certainly no BS.
Yeah,
And perhaps blunt to the point of, and it's not intended to be discouraging. It's just help artists realize, like a concept like the Spotify delusion. I feel like a lot of artists go, yeah, 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 I know that, but they're still pursuing trying to get big on Spotify. They're still trying to get streaming
yeah,
royalties. They're still relying and depending on that as their primary source, which
yeah.
for so far for independent artists really hasn't worked out that well, unless your name's Manifest, I guess. So, what is like? Did you have an aha moment there, or were you kind of already like, we know we can't depend entirely on streaming and Spotify and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd read another book on doing a release, which is probably more on the details of Spotify and how the royalties work on a practical level, and that was quite a sobering read
Ah,
about some of those figures and the model, which I'd never really fully understood, and I was like, okay, well, this is yeah, pretty grim reading. So I was slightly primed for that anyway, and then the whole focus on in the book around creating your own website, owning that, owning your
mhm,
fans, owning your data, and then that tied in with that really well as well. So it sort of, yeah, brought a whole bunch of things that were just sort of spinning through my mind together into a holistic approach of, right, this is what we got to focus on doing. You can't rely on all these social media platforms to, help you spread organically and this, that, and the other. You've got to own your data, own your platform, push people there, and yeah, take control of that. So, yeah, the streaming is part of that, isn't it? And yeah,
yeah. I think that's how us human beings do it, right? Like we connect the dots. So it isn't always just one singular resource that points us in the way we need to go or helps us understand the things we need to understand. It might be many teachers or many coaches or many books or many podcasts. So it sounds like, yeah, you were pretty studied reaching up to that point or coming up to that point, which is great. I realize now too, based on kind of the theme of the book, that it's not just the Spotify delusion. You alluded to it. Social media delusion, right,
yeah,
is a big one.
yeah,
The sales funnel delusion is a big one. It all takes work at the end of the day. It's not, I'm not here to say you can't succeed at those things. I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm actually surprised to find here in 2025 that Facebook is where I'm getting leads now. Facebook is where I'm getting attention and engagement and comments now. Facebook is where I'm building new connections and new relationships and new opportunities. So I'm really, really surprised. I would never have thought that, but you do have to figure out your pathway.
yeah, yeah. I was very surprised coming back into doing this band from when I'd done the previous one, which was 10 years prior, how much Facebook had changed. I felt like before on Facebook, I could just put a link up or an invite to like a gig, an event, and and my friends or connections would sort of see it on their feed. They would like it, share it, go to the event, and so on. But it felt like doing that now on the social media platforms, it didn't seem to get any prominence or wouldn't show up for anyone, and it just felt like something's changed in how these platforms are controlling what's shown to people. So I can't rely on them to even, yeah, get just a simple gig invite out. And that's when I thought, okay, we need to we need to make sure that we're on top of this with our own platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of I would love to hear because I can explain Spotify delusion. I could even pull up the chapter from my book, but would love to hear what you got from it, what your perspective or how you would explain it to another person, because it is kind of a key concept of the book.
Just beyond, it's not really our key focus. I think for it's an
Mm,
important sort of part of how we distribute the music, but in terms of, yeah, where we see revenue coming from and things like that, then it's yeah, we don't really give it too much thought at this stage.
yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, right?
Mm,
It might help you with the promotion side of things. It might help you get some
yeah,
exposure, but I think that the delusion in large part is the mission statement they have of freeing a million artists. I did all the math and I was like, they're not even close. Not even in the
No,
ballpark yet, right?
no, exactly. No, exactly. I mean, we just, it's such a, yeah, we don't even think. I don't even think, oh, we're going to get any revenue from it. Really, I don't even factor that into like, it's like if it happens, is kind of a bonus, in terms of what our expectations are. We're thinking, yeah, of the gig revenue streams, and hopefully down the line some physical and through distributed through Bandcamp and our own platform ultimately. So yeah, I mean that's ultimately what we want to do. But that going back to the book, that starts from building that fan base on the mailing list and going from there really.
I've got multiple things coming at me, and don't worry, we'll get to everyone's questions. I just want to make sure that we cover the Renegade Musician with the detail it's deserving of. So I said something about pathways earlier, and that's actually what I wanted you to expand on. Like, what pathways did you become present to, or like what methods or tactics or strategies or approaches did you become aware of as you were reading the Renegade Musician that made you say, "Oh man, I think we can make something work here."
So I think there was a lot of things about leveraging your network and making
Yeah.
connections with people and looking for some like win-wins with other artists and just thinking creatively about that. And surprising when you trawl back through all the experiences you've had and you think, well, I met that person and I met that person. Maybe we can help them there. Maybe we can do a remix for them there. Maybe we can help them with some promotion there, or swap some gigs, or and look at it, looking at it like that. Really, just reaching out and seeing what you can make happen for yourself like that. So that was something that I really took from it. And yeah, since then, I've been doing that to open up like remix opportunities and how we can, yeah, cross pollinate, shall we say, with other artists to our mutual benefit.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good summary or paraphrasing. Like it really seems to me that what you got out of it was, holy crap, like we need to start making friends or reach out to the people we already know or
Yeah,
make connections we haven't already had. Like maybe we
yeah,
could be introduced by so and so, and that would give us an edge in booking this show or booking this opportunity.
yeah,
And
exactly, yeah.
yeah, and that led to several different things for you, right?
It did, yeah, and it gives us a strategic plan moving forward because I mean I've got some incredible connections. I think like in the industry, like I know the product manager or the general manager at Domino, for example, but I went to his wedding. I could contact him, but I haven't got anything meaningful to say to him at this stage of our career. But it's a case of we can do other things to build momentum and build where we're at, and then at some point that connection will become relevant. I have something interesting to say, and I can sort of. That's just like one example of a number that I've got. So it got me thinking about right. We need to do this, to do that, to do that, to then open up that conversation, which then could lead to that conversation, and it just kind of suddenly a sort of a framework appeared of how we can, yeah, build something going forward with that.
So if I was to highlight anything, it would definitely be what you just said. That's really so important. And you came looking for marketing in the Renegade Musician. Is that something you feel like you got? You feel empowered in that area?
Yeah, I think we're just going into like the final part of the book. Into it gets a little bit more practical with the on that side of it. Probably not quite there yet in terms of leveraging some of that.
Right.
But I think it's one of those things where I read quickly, and then I thought, what I'm going to do is use this now as a reference point for when we get to these various stages. And we've got enough numbers on the mailing list to think about implementing like the sales funnel, that type of thing. Some of the other ways of increasing and maintaining that fan engagement. But we're still at that early stage of like you just need to try and drive people to the mailing list. Um,
Absolutely.
phase.
Number
So
one.
yeah, so it's a book I'm going to be going back to, I think, time and time again as things hopefully progress.
Yeah, because I do give a long list of things for people to do at the end there. One thing I mean, there's several things I've been thinking about adding, but one thing I think I would add is renegade prompts. Like here, go use this prompt with ChatGPT or Claude or something to fashion your bio, and we could put together some fun stuff like that. It wouldn't like completely automate the process. We all know that at the end of the day,
Mm.
work has to go into this stuff. But
Yeah.
as far as like summarizing an interview like this, I can take the transcript and put it in AI and have a great summary. So like use it where it gives you efficiencies and make sure you're not using it where, to your detriment and it's not actually furthering your career.
I think one of the things that I was impressed with the book is you can't be too specific in terms of the technical aspects because things
Yes.
change and the strategies become like ineffective. There's sort of plenty of content around of like how to do this and how to gain this platform to make it give you these results and so on. But you've always got to be open minded to that's going to change. So what I liked about the book is it sort of it was more about mindset and change and a way of approaching these platforms. And yeah, you've got to react to the results that they're giving you all the time and be on top of your numbers there. So that, yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
I mean, a big contention of a book is who, not how, which is very much, as I understand it, might have originated with Dean Jackson, but people like Russell Brunson talk about it a lot also. So, not thinking, if I think in terms of how, I'm committing myself to like learning something and studying something and trying to figure it out and taking
Mm,
courses and asking experts and spending the next whoever who knows how long, next few months, next few years of my life trying to learn that. If I just ask how, because I recently hired a book promoter and we're experimenting and I'm seeing where it's going. I don't know what the results of that are going to be, but that's a who for me, right?
mhm,
They're doing the work so I don't have to think about it and learn it and try to figure it out and ask experts and all that kind of stuff. They have the
mm.
experience. So leveraging who's is that's what I make a big stink of in the marketing section because we all know that digital marketers have certainly come to the point where they're knowledgeable, they're studied, they're experienced. They have instincts and intuitions you and I may not necessarily have because of all those years of trying different offers that don't work. Now, I think we also want to back up a bit or just take more of a bird's eye view of things. One thing that I'm sure community is interested in, and Jody has expressed interest in it as well, is your experience as an independent artist. You covered some aspects of that, but I think we really like to delve into what sort of things have you gone through? What have you felt along the way? What have you experienced? What have you dealt with?
So certainly, recently, it's getting increasingly difficult to find places to play. There's a lot of venues shutting down, and
Mm,
I touched on just when we were backstage the gig we had the other night, where there was a place near to us, which was I think it was voted Time Out's #1 pub in London. Very vibey, great community pub, but the local residents have got together and complained about the sound, so they put the limiters on, and it just killed the vibe of the place. So you've got a combination of the dedicated venues that are no longer viable, and then out because those are closing, then you're getting pubs where they're sort of springing up, sort of impromptu, like in the corner, and then suddenly that works. But then those places are not really geared up for it in terms of the soundproofing and things like that. So they're getting limits placed on them. So yeah, it all adds up to yeah, quite challenging to find places to play, and that's before you get onto are you going to be able to play in front of a new audience, or is it a case of you're running the night, which is what we did in November, and we it was a great night, but it was all people that we already knew us, and there wasn't any passing trade at all. So then you're like, well, that's the gig hasn't achieved its aim of expanding our audience, and so yeah, trying to tick the box of somewhere that you're going to be able to do the right production on, plus a bit of passing trade, plus it gets harder and harder. Even in London, I dread to think what it's like in other places that don't have the range of options as well. So that has been a challenge, and we're currently looking for somewhere now local to where we are, where we can start to build a regular night around the band. Maybe we'll play one time, and then we'll DJ the next event and put other bands on and build a bit of local profile like that. So, but yeah, finding places to play is difficult. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like we could do an entire show on gig disasters. Might
yeah,
have to come prepared with some ideas for that. You've expressed a few, and of course, I mean, I'm telling you, because you can't play 300 shows and not have some stories for sure.
hmm
But
yeah,
one thing that is pretty clear is location does make a difference,
yeah,
and prevailing opinion, of course, would say be in a major city.
hmm
Uh, but I have noticed that, like, when I was in Calgary, even though I knew I wasn't necessarily on my pathway to like stardom, I knew I could play a gig and earn 50 to 150 bucks. And if I was working with some collaborators that were planning a bigger event at a community center or a library or theater or something else, I knew I could make 400 and 800 and more. And it's a similar thing with a tribute band that I played for a while, could really count on it for two, three, four, 500 bucks a show. Where I come to Vancouver, and of course, I don't know that many people, and the venue situation is often different because you're more often than not paying to play.
yeah,
And so, and what you described about London is this whole fluctuation with venues, which I'm sure is a challenge if you're trying to get out there and perform more, which it
yeah,
sounds like that's like a key part of what you're trying to do right now.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And build an event that people will come back to because they know it's going to be a good night and they know it's going to be curated well. I think your options are either you find a promoter and you play one of their nights, in which case it's a case of you got to bring minimum number of people,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and you'll be put on with some other acts that may or may not be a good match for you. So your people will turn up, they'll just watch you, and then the other band's people will turn up, just watch them. There won't be any much of be a little bit of a revolving door sort of thing. That's one option. Or the other option is you put your own night on, but then you're taking on all the risk of venue hire, sound, doing the door, doing the promotion and things like that, plus all the other logistics, booking the other bands, making sure everything runs well, and that all takes your time away from working on your own music. So it's yeah, that's a trade-off of the two options. So we sort of going down the route of doing our own thing. I guess in the spirit of take control, make things happen for yourself vibe. But it's not without its challenges. But hopefully, once we get the right venue and we get it established, and then it will tick along, provide us with a good platform to build on.
We did a little bit of that last year, taking on all the risks with Clean Slate. My team, Jody was one of the main out organizers, and Carlo as well. And we had a good time, and we learned a lot from that experience. But yeah, that was mostly me footing the bill, the risk,
Yeah,
most taking care of most aspects of it. And
that's it. And we're still waiting to be. Yeah, you can find yourself waiting to be paid, and then you paid out other suppliers, and you're juggling all that sort of cash flow side of it, and you're like, this isn't music, but I suppose but it's the business side of it, isn't it? So, yeah,
Yeah, definitely. We did have a comment from YouTube, which we do encourage everyone to drop in the chat and weigh in. I'm not totally sure what I am that I am means. The main thing that I get from it is do it because you love it and do it for free. I mean, that's one approach. Says rule one
well,
is to
we
hang up
certainly
that
do it for
phone.
free, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I am that I am knows about artists. When we get started in the music biz, yeah, you almost have to pay for free because you wanna
Yeah,
gain that live performance experience and actually get good before you get in
yeah,
front of bigger audiences. Do it because you love it. I agree with that part. Do it for free might be kind of a different, but I don't know. Everyone
yeah.
is welcome to weigh in.
Yeah, I mean, we do it because we love it, and because we sort of there's something in us that we have to. Adam, my bandmate, and we love it, and yeah, I mean, whether the free thing, but we don't really think too much about that. That's sort of that's a
Yeah.
problem down the line. The first thing is like get people to like RadarBase. That's problem number one, and then yeah, solve that problem, and then we'll think think about the next ones.
Yeah, I
That's a
mean,
hard one.
if people don't want to make money, that's your choice. That's totally cool. I help musicians create that, which may sound weird, but and now help a broader base of artists in creating the kind of career that they want. Because I know like it's not just there's not one path, and I think that it's in the Renegade Musician as well. Maybe I didn't highlight it as much as I did in other books, but there's just so many monetization streams when it comes right down to it. And it's really about figuring out which one works for you and then staying consistent and steady with it. That's so
Mm.
important.
One of the things that happened with our single in November is that we ended up on a playlist called Best FIFA
Oh, cool.
songs of all time. FIFA, the football game. I mean, we haven't been on a sync on the FIFA. I mean, that'd be incredible if that happened. But the fact that someone listened to it and thought, okay, that sounds like the kind of thing that might be on the FIFA soundtrack, is another area where you think, getting syncs like that, video game soundtracks and things that could be a possibility, down the line, another sort of revenue stream potentially. But yeah, who knows?
Oh yeah. I mean, that is absolutely another thing that connections can absolutely make available
Mm,
is sync licensing and placement opportunities. Knowing the right music supervisors or knowing the right sites to submit to can create
mm.
those types of results. You're working on your email list, and
Yeah,
that's fantastic. So, like, what convinced you that you should make that a priority?
I think we're going back to what I was saying before about just not getting the same exposure on social media platforms that I remember getting,
Oh
10
yeah.
years ago. And yeah, and just friends saying like, "I didn't know you had a gig," and I'm like, "What?" It was all over. You're connected with us, and it was all over there. And I posted and I invited, and no, I didn't see that sort of thing. And I thought, well, something's not quite right here. We've got to own this data. And it's interesting what you said about the direct mail and the level of engagement on
Yeah.
that versus the
Yeah.
post. That particularly, I was like, actually, yeah, that is. That is something that it's sort of gone in reverse now, and I think that engagement is higher than just sort of scrolling past a kind of bunch of stuff. So that really thought, okay, we've got to do that. And at the moment, we don't have a huge following or anything. So it's sort of a mixture of people we know, and it's on a practical level. You can contact them on WhatsApp, one by one sort of thing. But that's obviously not scalable. So
Yeah.
and it's also gets a little bit, the first show's fine, we're doing a show, and so it starts to get a bit pestery when you're sort of WhatsApping people, "I'll come to my show again," and they're like thinking, "Oh, this is awkward."
Yeah.
So it'd be better if they were just like on a mailing list, and it's more of a kind of, I just want to be sure that people know we're playing, not to want to nag them to come. I just want to be confident that when we're playing, people are at least aware and have the choice of going if they want. And I think having a mailing list would be the way of doing that.
Very, very well said. And I would have been surprised too. I'm pretty sure in my first book, The New Music Industry, I said, oh, postal mail can work. And now my position is like it could actually be far more effective than digital marketing right now because
Yeah.
nobody's sending anything in the mail, are they?
No.
So, and I'm going to be sending along copies of my latest book, Flashes of Elation, to people who pre-ordered it, but they're not just getting the book. I'm going to give them some bonuses. I shouldn't say too much, but I think I'm going to give them two more books and a gift card for
Right.
being patient with me.
Mm.
And that kind of package that's in the mail, that's like Christmas, right? That's
Yeah.
why that's why people love ordering from Amazon so much. It's like it's Christmas. And
Yeah.
so when you get mail like that, you're like, oh yeah, open rates are 100%, aren't they? Pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, just ways to distinguish and something that's like more of a meaningful connection with people. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to turn it around on me. Mark, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So what are your plans for 2025, and what does
Mm.
that look like? And how does that compare to the last year that's gone by?
In the last 6 or 7 months, I kind of got to realizing or seeing the insanity of my own ways. And I think the sooner we can sort of notice what we're doing and how it's not working, the sooner we can make the course adjustment. The problem is it's in a blind spot usually, and we can't see it until we've been in it. Like I completed a 13-year cycle of being completely self-employed, completely entrepreneurial, freelancer, community builder, shifting between roles as necessary, and it was fulfilling and it was great and it was a very prosperous and abundant time in my life. Also dealt with a lot of bullies and jerks, but that's kind of where I was in my life at that time. So I kind of continued another 6 months in a similar way and realized, wow, it's 6 months later. I'm really no further ahead. Uh, I'm several $1,000s less. So that I could have kept that money.
Yeah.
And expended a lot of energy and time. So I could have been richer in terms of time and energy and relationships and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's come down to, again, focus, which probably sounds pretty obvious to most people, but the focus is these live streams and the podcast and growing my Facebook group. Because I kind of alluded to that earlier. I really never thought of Facebook as being a business platform. I didn't think I could use it that way. I didn't see potential in it. What do I get from posting? A few people commenting saying, "Great, you're so awesome." But what does that do in terms of financial numbers? Which is how an entrepreneur thinks. Okay, people might be uncomfortable with that thought listening, but artists might be uncomfortable with that thought. But that's how entrepreneurs think,
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
right? So I think as we continue these interviews, we have the opportunity to grow by 50 to 100 members every single time. If we do it right, like we're here to serve on you. We're here to serve on the people that come and are willing to be interviewed. We're here to serve people who come back to future episodes and then have conversations with us. And if we do that right, I don't see any way we can't grow this group by 2, 3, 4,000 by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And that's going to make a lot of things available.
Yeah. So look at so what 2000 by the end of 2025.
Yeah,
That sort of
by the
number.
end. Yes.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, because the simple math is we can grow by about 50 to 100 members every time we do an interview, and
Mm.
the only limit to the number of interviews we could do in a week is our own personal availability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think like the books obviously reached me here in the UK.
Yep.
So I think that's a great indication that of the scope for it to spread and connect with me and connect with musicians everywhere looking to mindset shift. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
best
the
luck
direct.
with that this year. I think sounds
Thank
a
you.
great plan. Yeah.
That's the direction things are going, and the reviews have been really good. I think aside from a few people who, because you don't know what you're going to get when people get the book for free and then review it.
Hmm.
There was one review specifically that was just bonkers. Like, well, I live in Nashville, so I know all this already. It was still a 4-star review though, and I was like, well, and I don't want to be cruel, but I went and checked this artist's online profile, and I could see that they were not doing the things I talked about in the book. So
Yeah.
you know it, but you don't know it, because
Yeah.
to know and not to do is not to know. You don't know until you've done it. The bottom
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Right? So that review made me laugh, and bottom line, you can't control it. People are just going to say what they're going to say anyway, and you can't really.
Yeah.
I'm going to get 4-star reviews. I'm going to get 3-star reviews. That's just how it is. There's no perfect book out there. McDonald's gets all kinds of awful reviews. Starbucks, you could name any company and they have bad reviews if you go looking for them. So,
Yeah, and I think with music is so such an emotive area for some people, and
yeah.
some people carry a lot of baggage based on sort of bad experiences and things. So if they read something that doesn't align with their exact expectations of what they think the industry should be, or this, that, and the other, then you could get a bad review on the back of that, which has nothing to do with the quality of the content. So yeah.
No, well said. Because if you're on the line all day
and not really out in the real world, you could really get stuck on or get fearful about, oh, AI. So like AI is going to take over the music industry, and from now on, it's just going to be AI music.
Yeah,
And there's an aspect to that, but like as long as the live performance arena or the live performance domain industry is still alive, that
yeah,
it's not like we might start mixing AI and human beings within that, but as long as that exists, there's always going to be opportunities. And then as we talked about throughout this, it comes down to what connections do you have? What's your network? Who could you talk
yeah,
to? Who could you talk to that could lead you to another person or another influencer that can help you on that path? And
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
so
And
boots on the ground.
AI's only ever going to produce music based on the genre, which is by definition is going to be generic music, isn't it? So,
Yep.
and people don't want generic music; they want something they haven't heard before. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't see that so much of a threat of that really.
I
From
believe
AI.
that. I think especially people who love music or who are musicians themselves, they're still waiting to see like who's going to be the next Kurt Cobain, who's going to be the next Jimi Hendrix, like who's going to be the person or the group that changes the entire palette, because we haven't really
Exactly. Yeah.
seen anything like that since Kurt Cobain, which is understandable. It's not like it's easy to come up with something completely new off the bat, right?
Yeah.
Like
Authentic, universal, connects with, speaks to people. Yeah.
yeah,
So you're going to get AI to do that. Yeah, I can't see it. So yeah,
no. Because when I play music, it's inevitable that I'm channeling Van Halen or Extreme or Harem Scarum. I've got my own spin to it. I have my approach. I have my own idiosyncrasies. But at the end of the day, there's a
yeah,
lot of 80s and 90s influence in there, and some from 60s and 70s too.
yeah. I think as well when people look at the music that they loved, particularly earlier on, it wasn't just the music; it was like the people and the photos and the liner notes and
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
story behind it and the vibe and things. So they wanted to feel like an escape into another world, if you like, and I think that's a big part of it as well.
I still love that. Like my friend was totally geeking out. I won't say it's obscure, but he got this vinyl record from the late 70s of a Japanese group doing electronic music, and it's great stuff. But like, just there's still people out there that geek out to that kind of stuff, and I'm with you. It's not everyone. I get that. Not everyone
Mm,
cares about the credits or who the guitarist was or who programmed it, but
mm.
I think when it comes to bands, though, it's a different story, right? We don't care that there was 13 songwriters on the latest Katy Perry track as much as like care about like who's gonna sing for Stone Temple Pilots. Like that's far more interesting as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. And like one of the things we wanted to do with RadarBase was build the whole backstory behind the bands with some of the cinematic content and
Mm.
the visuals and places in a film. I like that the whole idea behind the name was just like if there was a band in the future, like what would they be like? Where would they be living? What would they be called? And we were like, would they be called RadarBase? And they'd be like some outlaw sort of band living on the fringes of society in like a disused radar base, with their own thing going on. And then we just and that placed in a context and grew from there. Whether people everyone like picks up on that or gets into that, but it's there for hopefully for people that get into us that want to dig a bit deeper about what it's about. And it certainly helps with writing songs and things because you're always putting yourself in the movie and then out of that things flow. So yeah.
I think Kiss certainly made a similar decision, right? When they decided to wear
Yeah.
crazy costumes and six
Yeah.
inch heels or whatever those are platforms, and have pyrotechnics and the whole works. Like they were like, let's be comic book heroes. Yeah, Guar for sure. Slipknot to some extent. You could
Yeah,
say
exactly. Yeah.
they made
So
that
I
decision.
yeah, people buy into that. I think they want the big characters and they want the escapism and things like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's the sort of thing that yeah, going back to AI, you're thinking maybe AI could write me a cartoon and put a cartoon band together and so on. But hey, it took Gorillas did it first anyway. So
That's true. Well, and you've got the robot singers in Japan too, right? And people do go to see that and enjoy the experience together. But when you really
Mm.
think about it, okay, they might be watching something that's robotic, but they're experiencing it with each other. So the
Yes.
experience of
Yeah.
human interaction is still an important part of the mix at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do we have any closing thoughts? I really enjoyed this conversation. We'll
Yeah.
have you
Likewise.
back at
Yeah.
any time, Mark, and maybe at a time that's not as late for you as well. But anything else?
No, I think the closing thoughts are really, it's about taking control of all aspects of what you're doing and of your career. I sort of sometimes I find it uncomfortable using the word career, but yeah, take control of that and and make things happen for yourself, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a happier place to be psychologically once you get over the initial, oh, there's a lot to do, but then it's like, but I can do it, and to back yourself to make things happen for yourself, just taking small actions every day.
Love it. Great summary. And thanks for being here, Mark. Thanks,
No, thank
Jody.
you.
Thanks to our audience as well and everyone that's interacted in the chat. We look forward to seeing you again. And I'll probably see you as early as tomorrow for those who like to watch every day. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been Spark Infinity until it sticks.